HeyImAmethyst here. For those who are returning, welcome back to another video on my channel. And for those who are new here, welcome. As you can see from the title of this video, I'm going to be talking about EA, The Sims 4, and the buyout again. It's been a couple months. It's like pretty much halfway through February right now, 2026. It's been a couple months since I last talked about the whole buyout situation and The Sims 4, like the community within The Sims 4, like their reaction to it. And ever since like the initial reaction, it seems like the attitudes in some creators still haven't really changed. And like I've been like keeping up with the news that's been happening in the United States. And as you can, and if you have watched my previous video, I called out a creator that I watched for pretty much criticizing how people are protesting. And I am going to give my thoughts on like the whole situation further in this video, not with the creator, but like in general with some of the attitudes. Because it's like the attitudes that that creator displayed that I'm seeing a lot in the US and also within the Sims 4 community too. A lot of the behaviors that I'm seeing within the US in regards to this authoritarian regime that's forming, I'm seeing a lot of it in The Sims 4. And I just, considering that it's most likely that the deal is going to close and go through, and that the sale is just going to go through, and it will just be in the hands of the Trump family and the Saudi government, I feel like I wanted to give more of the thoughts that I've formed in regards to that and remind some of y'all because of what's really important in this situation. Because ever since I made like that video, I did put additional stuff a little bit afterwards, um of like the last video that I talked about The Sims 4 and EA, and I didn't get a chance to mention um some, like the creator that I linked in the, was it in the description or was it in the comment section? I can't remember, but I thought I would showcase their video in my video and kind of just reiterate some of the talking points, and also give some updates on as well, because I've been watching Not Malcolm's videos and they've been doing some of their own research and giving valuable information. So I'm just going to, talk about that. Um, do I will note that as of this recording, I have a cold coming on. I did take some medicine, but I feel really tired and drained and low energied. So expect this video to be in the scuffed format because I do not have the energy to be doing a lot of editing and everything. I gathered all of my clips and stuff that I think I'm going to need. Um, I'll probably do some light edits to give further information when needed, but this is going to be scuffed. This is going to be the scuffed video because tired. And also, I'm going to be traveling tomorrow. So, yeah, I'm doing low effort recording right now. I am going to make an additional video, um, after this talking about, game preservation, censorship, privacy, the control that's been happening lately in the world. But that's going to be in the next video. I'll probably record that right after I finish recording this one. Um, but yeah, so just obligatory, please don't attack, harass anybody that I mentioned in this video. I am going to be blunt, I am going to be harsh, I am going to cuss, because at this point, while I was thinking over the situation and forming my thoughts, I realized that unlike with the situation that happened between me and another creator in the witchcraft community where there's a lot of nuance, like there's still a lot of nuance in this situation, but there's still nuance in this situation, but I feel like there's not a lot of it. There's not much room to play devil's advocate given the information that I've learned and the behaviors that I'm seeing. But even though I might sound like an asshole in this video, that doesn't mean I give anybody to right to go in and start harassing other creators. That's a no. Criticize them, but don't stoop to their level, because a lot of these creators, the big name creators in the community, has a tendency to just send their audience to harass other creators. So yeah, don't stoop to their level. you know. Anyway, I'll just get right on into the video. So this is the creator that I believe I linked in the last video that I talked about EA and everything. Their name is RikkiStars, and I will link all the clips from the videos that I showcase in the description, as well as some other useful links to videos and stuff like that, because I feel like this situation within the Sims 4 community goes beyond just the Saudi government and supporting LGBTQ plus rights. Um, because it's not just everybody's talking about the Saudi government, but everybody seems to be forgetting the fact that a private equity is involved in this buyout, as well as Jared Kushner. I will get to that when I get to that. I'm trying to go in order as best I can, but I'm not great with words, and I'm sick, and I'm low energy, so I'll try my best, but I'll play some of the clips from this video, and I'll try to comment. I don't want to straight up rip from RikkiStars videos or any of the creators' videos in this video, but I might be quiet. um
I feel like since this deal announced, there have been so many videos that are spreading misinformation and lies about the way the US business structure like model works, and trying to make people feel certain type of ways. Either there's people out there making people feel like, oh, it's not that big of a deal, or making people feel like, oh, this has nothing to do with you. When in the US, capitalism and politics go hand in hand. Everything is political, and if you feel like you can't be political, you might want to analyze some of your biases and your privilege, because it is a privilege to not be political or to put your head in the sand, and not deal with politics. And I'm not saying we don't all have privileges, but in a situation where we're talking about racism, sexism, and terrible, heinous acts against the LGBTQIA plus community, to say you're not political means that you probably don't understand the perspective of those people from those communities, and that is a privilege. So
yeah, I do want to add to that. So in my witchcraft video, I was criticizing um the creator that I was calling out for forcing another creator in the witchcraft space for trying to talk about political topics. And that's and it's still I still stand by the opinions that I made in that video. It all comes down to what the situation is and the nuance in that situation. Like I said in that video, creators have a right to mold their spaces in the way that in the way that makes them feel safe and their communities feel safe. However, depending on the situation, um I mean, still, as a creator, you have a responsibility to your audience. And if you are not speaking on serious issues that might affect your audience, depending on the situation, that's a problem. However, in a lot of spaces that I'm in, especially on Twitch, there are spaces where talking about political things aren't allowed, mainly because with politics nowadays, people are very polarized, and people do not know how to respectfully respect each other's opinions and respectfully, agree to disagree in some aspects. It can be really heated, people can be really mean. So that's why a lot of spaces that I'm in on Twitch specifically, and especially in certain Discord servers where politic talks are not allowed. But I know there was a comments. I already mentioned this in the witchcraft video where I said that there was a comment that said that politics is everywhere, just like with Ricky Star says, because it comes from a Greek word that means people. So when you're dealing with people, you're pretty much dealing with politics. There's no way to get around that. However, I think what we really should be saying when we say no politics, like, hey, please don't talk about these certain topics that are, for the safety of everybody involved. I think it should be rewarded to something along the lines of please avoid these topics for everybody's safety and stuff like that. And I still stand by that because that channel that was being wrongly called out, um, it's a witchcraft channel for teaching people witchcraft and the rituals and methods and book recommendations and stuff like that. It's not an Activision channel like with that other creator that I was talking about, the activist witch. So I and in that situation, especially since it involved like J.K. Rowling and everything, I've already said what I said in that video. If you want to learn more, you can watch that video. I'll put it up on screen. I won't link it in the description. Um, or actually, I will. I will. I'm trying not. I'm noticing that I'm putting so much links and stuff in the description, and I don't know if YouTube is gonna start being weird about that. Because right now it seems like every social media just wants to be is just shooting themselves in the foot. So I don't know. um but yeah, I feel like it all, like I said, it all depends on the situation, because in that situation, the activist which should have just contacted Hearthwitch, you know and just explain why she was upset instead of bringing it on social media. There should have been an attempt to have a private conversation, but there was no true attempt at that private conversation. So in this situation, however, right, um, and especially in that situation, I feel like giving a short statement, at least acknowledging the fact that like their opinions on it. Like Hearthwish doesn't even have to like make a full blown video. She could have just made like a little notification in the description of her videos or in the pinned comment or in the community tab. Like especially if she was giving information about why her statements could be um are harmful. But like I said, I already said what I said in that video. I don't want to make this video too long and reiterate what I said. But, I'll link that in the description if you want to learn more about my opinions and the nuances in that situation and so on and so forth. But in this situation, right? This is a situation about EA being bought, being sold to oppressive individuals in a private equity. And considering that the PIF, the Saudi government is responsible for oppressing its people, oppressing LGBTQ plus people, oppressing women, oppressing like killing journalists and stuff like that. And the fact that it's also being sold to Jared Kushner, the son-in-law of Donald Trump, you know, the Trump family, like a man who has committed so many felonies, so many crimes, was racist earlier this month. I mean, he is racist. He posted a racist post on his own social media of the Obama family earlier this month, like a fucking asshole that he is. And, giving how him and his cronies are doing everything possible to turn this into a fascist state, turn this to a fascist government. Honestly, that people in this community aren't talking about that more, and that's a problem, right? And the other thing is, it's also being sold to a private equity, and we have a private equity problem in the United States. Private equity has been buying up homes, buying up journalists, buying up industries and stuff like that, and making competition harder, you know? And I've been learning about this in like my history class, in like my Western history, Western civilization class. I don't know if my iPad is charged. I might get that. Hold on. So I've gotten some of my notes from my history class. So there was a unit that we talked about like towards the beginning of the semester where we talked about the Enlightenment and the ideas that, the people in the higher classes, like the ideas that they held, um, you know, one of those ideas that they shared was a free market capitalism, right? They had the idea that government should allow markets to operate with minimal regulations. Now, pretty much like that, and they promoted like, competition, free competition and stuff like that, right? And with these private equities buying up all these industries, trying to take control over the market, it hurts competition, right? And I will probably mention this again later, but we as consumers are kind of to blame for this, because we allowed it to happen. We didn't protest hard enough or effective enough. And I'll get into that later. But yeah, it's been a problem in the US. And with this EA buyout, the fact that this buyout is going to individuals that favor control and want to control us as a people and try to control the market, that should be a huge red flag. And I feel like we the Sims 4 community isn't really angry enough about it. That I've seen people be angry and they've stated that they're going to. I've seen, the big name creators leaving the EA network and small creators leaving and speaking out, and I'm very much appreciative of the people who are standing on business, right? But I feel like everybody has been pivoting towards talking about Saudi Arabia, but they're missing the other two components in this buyout and the overall implications and the issue surrounding it, right? So I that's I just wanted to add on that. Um but yeah, so the fact that this buyout is pretty much going to affect everybody in this space and it's really important. I feel like in this situation you need to speak out on it because as we are seeing in the world right now, there are a lot of people, powerful people at the top who honestly don't deserve to be in the position. They don't deserve to have all this power, are trying to control us in any way, shape, or form. So I feel like in this situation, unlike with the witchcraft situation that I mentioned before, there's a lot less nuance because it combined with the attitudes that I'm seeing in the community, if you're not speaking out on it, if you're not, resisting this decision, if you're still complacent in just giving this company money, you're just going to stay quiet, not saying anything, um, you're pretty much allowing these oligarchs, these oppressive authoritarian people to have their way. So I feel like in this situation, if you're not saying anything and if you're not doing anything, or if you're saying all you care, but then you're still in a financial relationship with EA, you're not an ally. You're part of the problem.
Just want to put that out there. Like, yeah, as we say in MWGS, the personal is political. Everything is political, especially when we live in political climates, especially here in the US. So you can't really say that. And EA is a US based company. So yeah, you've got to kind of understand how it works over here in the US before you can just come out here and say
Yeah.
things that don't make sense. Okay, so I saw a video by an individual,
She ended up
and I
changing.
don't know if
Hold on. She ended up changing her name. If I can find the video, um, yeah, this creator ended up changing her name to Goofy Little Shady. And after I posted my video criticizing that creator that I called called her out, um she ended up leaving the creator network after making, like, a little bit after making that video, like, I guess a couple months. So, and I made a tweet on it on Twitter, like I tweeted about it, like, so now she leaves the creator network after the big names in the community did, after all those false accusations. You see the performatism, the performative bullshit. Like, she had the gall to accuse Malcolm of spreading hates and misinformation, and yet her video is full of misinformation. And I think RikkiStars, like, commented about some of the things that was said in this video as well. But I'm just gonna say this here. I don't know if I can't remember if Ricky says it, but I read in the comment section, I think Malcolm was talking about the video as well in one of his videos. And in one of the comment section, like, the comment one comment said, "Oh, it's it's almost," I can't exactly remember what it said, but they mentioned pack was it pathos, logos, ethos, I think. Yeah, ethos, pathos, logos. So I've also learned this. No, I've learned this in an English class that I took. So it was like we were writing argumentative essays and how to write them, and these techniques can be used to, like, persuade people, and it can also be used in debates. And it's funny because this creator, like, the creator's partner, right? The creator's partner claims to be, somebody who has engaged in debates and knows how to debate, they claim. Yet, the same tactics that are used to debate and how to write an argumentative essay, right? How to persuade people, he's criticizing Malcolm for. But if he is somebody who engages in debates, he would be using these same tactics as well. So, it's kind of funny. So, I'll explain ethos, pathos, and logos for anybody who doesn't really understand what I'm talking about. I'm going from my English 101 notes. So, ethos, is like talking about the character. It's to convince why, like, um the speaker is like credible and we can trust the speaker. So, and is pretty much, how can we trust, convincing, a method to convince, like, why you should trust, like, the speaker that's speaking, or like the author, right? And pathos is like the emotion, using language to convince the audience using emotions. And then logos is like language to, like, using facts, like using logical evidence to, like, convince, like, the audience. So that's ethos, pathos, logos, essentially. I'm, like, going off of a worksheet, because I don't have, like, the notes written down, like, as a PowerPoint. But yeah, that's pretty much that. So I'm just saying that because ethos, pathos, and logos is what you use to write argumentative essays and what you would use in an effective debate. And as somebody who claims to be in debates, um, you know, and is criticizing Malcolm from using these tactics, when he's also using these tactics as well in that video, right? It's a method on how to write it. Like, this isn't manipulation. This is just a way to debate. And I kind of annoyed that I forgot about these methods, because I don't use these methods to, like, share my points and my opinions and stuff like that. I mean, it's a good method to have. And not, like, I have said in the past that I'm not really a fan of how not Malcolm phrases some of their points. Because like I said, I have taken issue with the not the fake gamer girl situation. Like he did like Malcolm did address it, but but they didn't address it. Uh, they didn't address the tone that they used in that video itself. They addressed like the pettiness afterward, but not within the video itself. And I'm kind of like annoyed with that because I heard their snarkiness and their pettiness in the video but they didn't mention that. But that's not something that Malcolm should be crucified over. We're all human. We all make mistakes. We all get petty and stupid sometimes. The important thing is what we're going to do in order to like not make those mistakes in the future. And in that video, I did criticize Malcolm's use of their language, but honestly, at this point, now looking back at it, I guess that's not really something that I should have criticized Malcolm for, especially considering that with the behaviors that these creators are showing in this community, that's kind of what Malcolm said in that video is exactly what they're doing. And as things continue, I'm seeing that they're probably either going to stay in the creator. Some of these creators may stay in the creator network that are still in that haven't left yet, or they're going to leave until the last minute. And I want y'all to pay attention. I want y'all to pay attention to the creators that still are in the EA Creator Network after the sale goes through. I want you to pay attention to the creators that leave at the last minute, right before or even close to the deal going through. Because let it be clear. Let me be clear. These people, even though some of them may say that they value diversity, they value the LGBTQ plus community, all that and stuff like that. No, they're not. No, they're not. No, they don't. Because if they did, they would have been out the door of the program. They would have been out of the program by now. If they did, they wouldn't be making so many excuses. They wouldn't be making so many excuses. It's the same behavior that I'm seeing with the white people in the United States that still don't see the fact that the situation is bad over here. Oh, you say you care. Oh, but you're still doing the same things that are problematic. That hurt us as a people. That hurt the people of color. That hurt the LGBTQ plus community. It's you for anybody who has watched my video talking about Quinieva, and she is the soul of being, that empty ass fucking statement that Quinieva said about the disabled people. Oh, I see the disabled people. Oh, no, you fucking don't. No, you fucking don't. Because if you did, you wouldn't be doing the bullshit that you were doing right now. You wouldn't be doing the bullshit that you were doing right now. And also, allegedly, um, fucking over artists too. Like they fucked over the disabled people, and you're fucking over the artists, especially with the allegations that her book art was made with AI, which honestly I haven't exactly looked in too much into that yet. Um, if it's actually true that the artwork was made with AI, I haven't looked into that yet. But yeah, I mean, I know I went off on a tangent again with this, but I just wanted to like point out that little thing that I noticed.
If I'm gonna put the screenshots of the video, I might, because this is YouTube, and if you're gonna come on this app and yap, you should at least know what you're talking about. You shouldn't go on this app and spread misinformation. But I saw this video and I was flabbergasted. I think this video came from a very emotional standpoint because, like, the person who made this video is in the EA Creator Network. I'm sure they're feeling some type of way about everything going on. And I understand the fear of, like, change and not understanding fully what's happening, but to use your fear to kind of project onto other people and their lives is not okay, especially when it comes from a sense of not knowing what you're talking about. So I just encourage everyone, before you
Yeah.
hit record and upload on this app, at least know what you're talking about. Okay, so, and like I said, this is coming from a perspective of someone who has worked in PR. I've studied business. I worked in business. I worked in government actually too. So I understand the socio-political business climate that is happening with this deal. So
Yeah, just to point out, ethos, convincing why somebody is credible, why you should trust the person speaking. Ethos. Sorry.
it's coming from that standpoint. It's not coming from, I'm just sitting on here yapping. No, this is research and years of professional and academic work. Okay, so the first thing I want to make very clear, we all need to stop comparing a video game to necessary goods. And I've said this over and over and over and over again, and I'm going to keep saying it until some of y'all get it. This is a video game. This is not a necessity like your iPhone, like water, like oats, like
Yeah.
bread. This is a video game, and that video game is a choice. Now, if you decided to make your career off of a video game, which is a choice, that into was your choice.
Exactly. 100%. 100%. Now, something that not Malcolm mentioned. The EA Creator Network, to get in, it's not a job. It's an application that you can fill out, but it's voluntary. It's not a job. EA doesn't pay these creators. Yes, sometimes they might sponsor them, and yes, they do give these packs to them for free, but they don't pay them like a normal job, like a normal employer would. You know, they're not employees for EA. Being a YouTube content creator is the job. YouTube is the one that pays them. Get all these views that they're racking up in their videos. That's what pays them, not EA. EA might give them free things, and not Malcolm talked about another creator, like another creator, like a group of creators that got some free purses from EA in that whole situation. And I'll get to that when I get to that. But yeah, so one of the arguments and concerns that people in when the first news came out and everybody was panicking, like, was saying, oh, they can't just leave, the financial situation, they may not be able to leave for like financial reasons. EA, but the thing is, like, due to like Malcolm's research, like, if being an EA creator isn't a job, then leaving shouldn't be a problem because YouTube's the one that's giving you the money. EA is not paying you. EA is not paying you. So if you were to leave the EA Creator Network, you would still be fine because YouTube would be the one still paying you because you would still be making videos and getting paid. So that excuse was just bullshit. It was just bullshit. There was a video that Not Malcolm put out that exposed some creators for saying that, oh, they didn't want to leave the Creator Network because they were afraid that they weren't be able to come back in after they leave. Now, I said in one of the previous videos where I was talking about the situation, like, be honest with your audience, if you can't leave for financial reasons, just be honest and encourage them. Hey, encourage your audience, like, hey, I want to leave, but I can't due to financial reasons. Would you be able to support, like, donate to Patreon or Ko-Fi or whatever? Yeah. But the EA, the fact that being an EA creator isn't a job, so that argument that part of the argument falls away. And the fact that some of these people said that they weren't leaving, not because that they were financially worried, they were worried about their financial stability, but they're worried about not being able to go back in. So that's your reasoning. You don't want to leave because then that would make you feel uncomfortable. You don't want to leave because you don't want to stand up and be inconvenienced. It's the same pattern that I'm seeing in the US with some of these white people. And I'll show the clips later. I'm trying to go in order with the clips that I gathered. But it seems like there's a problem with white people. Because it's mainly white people that's saying all this bullshit. It's mainly the white people. The problem with these types of white people who don't want to stand up and stand on business is that they don't want to protest. They don't want to stand up. They don't want to stand up for people who don't look like them or share the same values as them. It's because it would inconvenience them or make them uncomfortable. That's why they don't want to do shit. This is why we're having problems today in the US and everywhere else, because of this. The white people don't want to give up some of their inconvenience, give up some of their privilege to help stand alongside the marginalized groups, the oppressed groups. Like, it was so infuriating. You can still, like I said in my previous videos talking about the situation, if you cannot play a different game because you're worried about the views and you're worried about the financial situation, then that's fine. If you've already bought The Sims 4 and you've already bought the packs and everything, still play it, because that was your money that you played. You might as well get your money's worth out of it, even though the game is shit and it's not really worth that amount of money that you paid for it. At least get some use out of it, right? What we're some of us what most of us is asking for is for you to not be in a financial relationship with EA. Not give them any more money, not buying any more packs, not buying any more merch, not giving them any more money. That's what most of us have been asking y'all to do. You all white people to do. And some of y'all white people have gotten the message. Great job. Great job. Some of them, most of them were doing the ballot minimum, but like with Not Malcolm, with another creator that he mentioned, I can't remember the name off the bat, but he mentioned a couple creators that were standing on business. They even pivoted their own content to play a different game, which, great job. We need to encourage more of that. But a lot of these other creators were pretty much just did the bare minimum. The bare minimum was leaving the EA Creator Network. And in the case with Little Simsy, she ended up buying another pack afterwards, and everybody was mad about that. And rightfully so. She deserves to be criticized for her actions. Everybody keeps coddling Little Simsy, but she's not. These EA creators, these big influencers in the space, they're not your friends. They're not damsels in distress. They're not gods. You shouldn't be treating them as such. They're human beings. They're not above criticism. They're not above whole accountability. So y'all in the creator net, audiences need to understand that these people are not your friends. They're making money off of you. And yes, while some of them that are in the network are actually honest, and kudos to them, great job to them. We need to show more support for people who were in the network, at least at the time. I don't know if some of them already left, but aside from the big names, but there have been people in the creator network that were honest and stood on business, and which is great. But a lot of these other words, they're just putting on a performance. They're not being honest. They're just selling you a broken product. All y'all need to understand that. All y'all need to understand that.
And we all have choices. So we can no longer keep comparing this. You want to talk about what's going on overseas with the iPhone situation? Sure, let's talk about it. Let's talk about the hundreds and millennium of colonialization that's happening on the African continent. Are you doing anything about it? You in your home country has a long history of indigenous marginalization and keeping indigenous people quiet.
Yes, I've learned about this in my Western civilization class. Europe has had a history of imperialism. Long history of imperialism. Invading Australia, invading Africa, taking pieces of Africa, fighting over land in Africa, treating the indigenous people like shit. Long history of imperialism. Long history of colonialization. Long history. It's nothing new. And y'all were saying, oh, we worry about, like, but what about these other problems? Well, yeah, these problems are legit problems that need to be fixed. But why mention them if you're not really going to do anything about it? It's one thing to bring awareness it's another to actually fight for change. And that's something that another creator that I'll mention later had mentioned, that, you know, a lot of people, and like I said before, is we're kind of at fault for letting it get this bad. We were complacent and just allowing convenience to just take over our lives. We wouldn't be at this point where all these mega corporations have control over our basic needs if we just, you know, hold them accountable, stood on business, and demanded for change. And I don't mean, you know, just emailing people and just outrage on social. I mean like real change, like organizing and stuff like that. Um, I will expand on my thoughts on this later when I get to it. But I'm mentioning this here because people have been bringing awareness, and that's good that we are more aware about it. But there's not really much organizing for people to really get there's not much organizing to put pressure on these corporations and the governments to actually do anything.
Are we going to talk about it? Like, if we really want to talk about it, are we going to talk about it? Are we going to dissect it? Honestly, I think a lot of us need to realize that if we cannot at least start with our choices, we're not going to get anywhere with the necessities. If we
Exactly. So, with the necessities, because we've gotten to this point where the mega conglomerate corporations have control over our basic needs like housing, water, food, and everything like that, it's kind of hard not to spend your money at these corporations who are doing unethical actions and violating human rights. It's kind of hard, especially when there are options to go with the more ethical options. They're more expensive, and sometimes it's more expensive because, you know, um because of like the costs of like trying to make sure that the costs, you know, and because not a lot of people are like supporting these, sometimes they have to up the prices because there's not a lot of demand for it. So, or actually, or maybe it's the other way around. I don't know. I don't know. Um, but yeah. But with these conglomerate corporations, you don't have to give them your money. Like, I'll probably say this again and later on when I get to it, when I show the clips in order, but I'll say this now. Um, just like with these governments, like being part of the social contract, if the government isn't doing what it needs to do to help the people, then the people have the right to, like, you know, keep the government in check. It's the same thing with these corporations. People seem to forget that the government and these corporations, they serve us. And especially with these corporations, if it weren't for us users using your products, you wouldn't have been successful today. How can you be successful if nobody's using your shit? And these big giant corporations seem to forget that if it weren't for us using your product, you wouldn't be successful. And we have to remind them by voting with our wallets, by moving to other and supporting composition, right? We're in this situation because we've gotten so comfortable with convenience, and the other alternatives aren't as good as these main sources that we're using because we're not giving them the resources to be successful, to rival these big giant corporations. So like with YouTube, I think there was like Odyssey, there was Glomble, there was like all these other ones, but they don't have the same reach as YouTube. They don't have the same audience as YouTube. And we all know that YouTube sucks and their decisions over the years has been shit. But we haven't been encouraging other people to make alternatives that are just as good. And I'll mention this right here, right now. There's a social media upcoming social media platform called Haven. The Kickstarter launched. I'll put it in the description, and I'll also put it in the description for the next video that I'm going to talk about. But we need to support projects like that, like Haven. Haven claims to be a platform that's anti-surveillance, anti-AI, anti-censorship. We need to support platforms like that so that they can rival the big giant mega corporations. And I'm calling all of the professional software developers, software engineers, professional coders. We need y'all to make some applications that can rival these big mega corporations and won't fuck us over like these big giant mega corporations are doing right now. Yeah. We need to encourage more competition. And what we can do right now, at least with our choices, our wants, like the stuff that we don't necessarily need, like these video games, I stopped buying directly from Nintendo for like the mainstream games. I still have a Nintendo membership because in order to play some of the games that I have bought, I need a Nintendo Online, which is bullshit. It's bullshit to have to play for multiplayer when most of the time, um, for these games, multiplayer features are free. I don't understand why we just allowed that to be a thing, especially since it wasn't free. Especially since multiplayer was free on the DS, the Wii, and for the previous consoles. But anyway, so for me, I've stopped buying these games, and I've started buying like the secondhand games. Buying secondhand games, and I've also stopped supporting other video games that don't align with my values, that aren't, stuff like that. I stopped playing and interacting with the Dinkum community because of the um colonialization, the bigotry, the views that are that are showing in that game, in that community. I left because of that. The colonialization, like I mentioned before, the Europe colonizing Australia and fucking over the indigenous people that lived over there. That the same actions are rhyming in that game, and there's no indigenous representation in that game. That's why I stopped playing it. That's why I'm not interacting with the community anymore, because the values, the stuff that's in that game doesn't align with my values, so I stopped playing it. I stopped supporting it. And that's true for all of your wants. If you're into like crafting, into crafts, and you're buying supplies from a place that was indulging in not so ethical practices, then you don't purchase from that establishment. I don't shop at Hobby Lobby for these very reasons. And I'm sure Michael's has some issues too, but there hasn't been any good craft alternatives. So if Michael's has been partaking in questionable ethical stuff, like I'm kind of fucked because there hasn't been any good craft stores to replace Michael's. So yeah, that's kind of fucked in that department. But I can't stop crafting because like where am I gonna get my craft supplies? So if there's any recommendations, if that's the case with Michael's, like please let me know so that I can switch over to see, But yeah, and it goes with everything. All of your choices is stuff that you don't need. Just look into the company. You have Google? Although I would recommend using a different search engine. Like you have the internet. I would recommend I would recommend Start Page. It's like an alternative to Google. Like it still is like Google, but it kind of doesn't track you. I would recommend using Start Page as a search engine because Google, fuck Google, pretty much. Um, but yeah, you have the internet. Just do your research into the companies that you want to buy from and see if they align with your values. And if they don't give them your fucking money. It's you in the age of information, like we all have phones, we have computers. It doesn't take you that long to just search up the company and see what they're known for. But yeah, uh, enough ranting on
Can't
that.
start with our choices, we're not going to get anywhere with the necessities. because those same conglomerate monopolies that control our necessities control our choices. And at least if we can start with choices, maybe someday, one day, we can work on the necessities, and children will no longer have to suffer at the hands of big companies like Apple and the iPhone.
Yeah, all these
But right
oligarchs.
now, because of the conglomerate monopoly on resources like technology and water and lights and things that should be free to all people because they're necessities, we are where we are. But a video game, The Sims, is not a necessity. You don't need it. There's other games, there's other things you can do for your hobby and your free time. Okay, that's all I'm gonna say about it. I'm not gonna say any more about that. Second thing that I heard about in this video is that they kept saying we need to come together. And I saw this in multiple videos where they're like, we need to stop fighting against each other. We need to all.
Yeah, not Malcolm has mentioned this creator in one of his videos. And I'll get to this creator when I get to talking about them, right? But what she's saying, because a lot of, yeah, I've seen that, what she's saying, a lot of people saying, oh, we need to come together, we need to stop fighting, this, that, and the third. But yet, these same people that were saying these things are the same people that perpetuate the toxic positivity, the complacency, the bullying of people who don't have the same opinion as them. Like, Satch on Sims said that the Sims community is the most disrespectful community and they're toxic and everything. He was saying that for the fucking wrong reasons, and he's part of that part of that group that he was talking about. He's part of it. They scream we all for diversity and stuff like that, but when it's actually time to stand on business and to actually stand with the people of color and the people in the LGBTQ plus community, they do jack shit. They do jack shit. They don't do fucking anything. And they give empty statements. And they make excuses. Like, you see the hypocrisy? It's nothing but hypocrites in this community. Nothing but hypocrites and toxic people in the community. Save for the people who actually are decent human beings and know how to stand on business, like I said before. GG's to these people. We need to support more people like them, more people like Simsiga, more people like not Malcolm, and also the people that he mentioned. I can't remember at the top of the head, but he's mentioned a couple creators, and shout out to them too for standing with us.
Come together and support each other. I'm sorry, but if you think coming together to support each other is being complacent and continue to pat people on the back for their
Inaction,
what's the right word, for their inactions against
complacency.
social injustice, that's not the togetherness that I want to participate, to be honest. If we cannot hold people accountable for their actions or inactions against social injustice, there's no togetherness in that. Back to my notes. If I hear support for the devs one more time, I'm gonna lose it. I'm gonna lose it because this is not some mom and pop shop that is making your local donuts down the street. This is a billion-dollar company. So you buying a broken pack does not go into the pockets of the devs. That's not how it works. That's not how it works. And you saying, oh, only a small percentage is going to go to Saudi Arabia. That's not how it works. That's not how the US business model works. You know how it works? EA, conglomerate, has different brands. You've got the sports, EA Sports. You've got the Sims. You got the many other games that they own and earn. Their top performing is sports and Sims, by the way. And they pull in all the money, and the money goes into the pot. And from the money that goes into a pot, it gets divvied up into salary pay, divvied up into shareholders, divvied up into paying off the owners. Like, it gets divvied up.
Yeah.
And what's impactful about the way it gets divvied up is if the Sims, sorry, I keep saying divvy, I like that word. If the Sims is the second highest making entity within this, Let's say sports brings in 50 million. The
Hmm.
Sims brings in 30 million, right? That's 30 million that would be missing from the pot. So they're going to be like, oh crap, what can we do to address this 30 million missing from the pot? That is why boycotting matters, because it shows them and it tells them that you care about where your money goes. And if
Yeah. And what's important to know about private equities, like I showed the clip in one of my previous videos where I was talking about it, but in the all of the time with these private equities, once they buy up and make the company go private, they're gonna do whatever it takes to make sure that they are getting the profits that they're like consuming and gathering up all of their wealth. They're gonna do what it takes to like save as much money as they can.
Private equity secretly started buying up the entertainment industry without any of us really knowing. Because it's important context for you to understand by the end of the video on why everything we watch nowadays sucks, well, except my videos of course, and why this battle between piracy and private equity goes beyond entertainment. So for decades, small sets of executives and CEOs controlled Hollywood and took all the profits. And now that's still true, it's just they don't really work for themselves anymore. Because almost every aspect of entertainment has sold out to private equity. Take the studio behind this intro. Yeah, there's a reason why we don't see that lion anymore. So MGM Studios owned James Bond, Rocky, massive franchises, but in the 2000s, they started flopping. MGM was drowning in debt and looking for a way out. And so people started circling around MGM. And in 2005, Sony and several private equity firms bought MGM for $5 billion using a leveraged buyout. Like I explained in my previous videos on how private equity is buying up homes and companies, they use this leveraged buyout to make that deal happen. So they put in around $1 to $2 billion in cash, and the rest, the $3 billion, was funded through debt. Which of course that debt is loaded onto the company that they acquire, so MGM now held even more debt when they started. After being bought out, 15% of staff were laid off, divisions were folded, all to squeeze short-term savings and make the math on paper look better. But even after cutting costs, MGM was still saddled with debt, and the movies that they were putting out were flopping, so they filed for bankruptcy just 5 years later in 2010. Since then, MGM has been passed around like a blunt from one private equity firm to another, each extracting value until in 2022, Amazon finally swallowed it all up. I'll get more into that later, but what's important to take away from this is that this MGM deal in 2005 kicked off a gold rush. And soon after, movie theaters like AMC and Cinemark went to private equity, Nielsen, the TV ratings company, to Blackstone and KKR, DreamWorks, Miramax, and even talent agencies like WME, all bought by private equity. And just like MGM, all these companies were gutted by cutting creative staff, which boosted stock prices short term. And the playbook was laid out where private equity firms saw just how much short-term profits they can make from advisory and management fees, but especially from flipping the studio's media library. Similar to the mortgages in 2008, these libraries could be chopped up and financialized, licensed and resold to streamers like Netflix. But later on, as they saw with MGM, and once fees and value has been fully extracted and squeezed out, years later, a lot of them were also resold or even bankrupted like MGM, and these studios, banks, and bond investors took a hit on that debt. So the private equity firms that play their cards right profited a lot, but what it fundamentally changed was the profit incentive in Hollywood, which stopped becoming about actually making good movies to make more money, and instead the incentive became all about short-term profits. So if all this was happening during the late 2000s and 2010s, how the hell have none of us heard that Hollywood was literally being bought out? We're literally talking about an industry where paparazzi report on the littlest, dumbest things that a celebrity does. Well, because Variety, The Hollywood Reporter, Rolling Stones, and IndieWire are all owned by Penske Media Corporation. And guess who backs PMC? Private equity. So the very outlets that should have been reporting on this buyout spree were all owned by the same financial interests.
So if this money, so that would ultimately mean layoffs, studio closers, studio shrinkages, you know. So whether or not you still pay for the Sims 4 for all their broken ass packs or not, in the end, the devs are still going to get laid off. They're still going studios are probably going to be closed and stuff like that. So whether or not you are giving money because support the devs, blah blah blah, they're going to be the last ones to get that money. Most of that money is going to go towards everybody else, and the employees are going to get it last, and they're going to do whatever it takes to make sure that they don't have to spend as much money as possible. If you're, like I said in the previous video, if you're still so concerned about the devs, and I don't mean the leaders, I don't mean the people making the money who aren't at the desk, shrimp position, coding all of these systems in within a very small time limit. You know, I'm talking about the actual people who are actually coding in these games. If you're these systems, if you're so worried about them, encourage them to set up a Patreon. Encourage them to set up a Ko-Fi or a Buy Me a Coffee or some other donating platform space, so that if in the event that they lose their jobs, when they lose their jobs in their buyout, it's not an if, it's a when. It's going to be a when, because it's a pattern that happens with these types of buyouts and business deals, right? So in the inevitable that this happens, at least they'll have a safety net for the community to lie on. If you're really that concerned about these individual devs that are actually, you know, coding in these systems, then encourage them to set up these additional donation options. But I'm not talking about the leaders, the executives that are making these bullshit decisions and are still perpetuating this stupid ass business model. Okay? We shouldn't be supporting them, because they're the ones that are getting most of the money. They're the ones getting most of the money. They're the ones giving out the PR statements and giving out these empty ass promises that they keep breaking over and over and over again. Oh, we hear about the diversity. Okay, can you explain the fucking ass royalty pack that came out a couple weeks ago? Can you explain that? Because if you cared, you would have actually asked the community, the black community, the people of color, the black diaspora that interacts with this community. You would have asked them what they wanted in this pack instead of shoehorning them into the rest of the Eurocentric and not letting them shine. If you really cared, you would have been asking the community. But they did not. They fucking did not.
If we would have done this sooner, maybe we wouldn't have so many broken packs and the game would not be stuck on the loading screen that you're trying to enjoy after getting off your 9 to 5, after working so long. You just want to sit at your desk chair with your wine or your beverage and play the game. But when you go and open it, it doesn't work. So you spent $1,500 for something that you should be able to enjoy and it doesn't work. And you got people out here getting paid to continue to sell you a broken product.
Yeah, these influencers.
And those people are the ones yapping around on Blue Skies and X and all of these social media apps, continuing to try to protect their space of selling you a broken product, because you've made them millions and thousands of dollars and they are cushy and comfy where they are, while you are sitting there with your laptop open, frustrated at a loading screen.
Yeah, sorry for the black screen. I would cut them up in a way to like isolate the clips. But let me go here. So yeah, what she said, 100%. 100%. Yeah. And a lot of these packs are just reskins of older packs. Some of these packs are reskins of older packs. Some of these packs shouldn't be in its own pack, should be either in a base game or included in with the other pack. With other packs. It's just, these packs are not worth buying. They're not worth buying. They are not worth buying. So y'all need to stop giving EA your money, because these packs are not worth buying. The textures are shit, the mechanics are broken. The CC community is pretty much carrying this game on their backs. The CC communities are pretty much carrying this on their back, and they're doing a better job at giving quality textures, giving quality models, giving quality mechanics that the executives at this game is simply not allowing the developers to really flesh out and give us. And it's infuriating that people still out there are making fuck ass excuses, but saying this, that, and the third. This is a dying ship. This is a dying ship. It's not worth defending.
And the question that people keep asking is, what do you expect a person who plays The Sims to do?
Oh, yeah, that's what the partner said. What I expect them to do is to fucking boycott, fucking stand on business. That's what we expect them to do. What would you expect? I don't know. To not be complacent, to not keep accepting the convenience and defending this broken pack. Because we got to this situation, like I said before, because we weren't standing on business and holding these governments and these corporations responsible for their lack of delivering a product, a good product. That's what we expect them to do. That's what we expect the Sims player to do, to actually come together and to stop allowing this to continue to happen.
And I'm flabbergasted by this question, because the question is mute. It's moot. M-O-O-T. M-O-O-T. It don't make no sense. Because what do I expect people to play The Sims to do? To care about where their money's going. What do I expect the people that promote The Sims to do? To have some kind of ethical or moral consciousness. Because you constantly talk about how woke this game are, but if you are asleep playing a woken game, what does that make you? If you are asleep playing a woken game, what does that make you? And if you can't realize the areas of growth that we have to make the game even more quote unquote woker, or more terms that I like to use is equitable and accessible,
yes,
then you are the problem. Number 2, the racism and hypocrisy. When creators like SimSiga came out and started saying like, hey, I think like this is a wake-up call and we should all do something about it, and other creators, larger creators who are Eurocentric, by the way, they are white, as I would like to say, said, oh, I don't know what to do on my livelihood, I don't know what to do. We started coming for creators like SimSiga, and even myself, people started making comments. But now that all of the Eurocentric white people, the big people who make the millions of dollars off you and have the PR firms representing them, are coming out saying, oh, I don't stand, I'm leaving the EA Creator Network, which I said before was the bare minimum for a lot of people like this, big creators like this, because it is just a fraction of what they could do to really speak up against EA. Once they start doing that, we want to hand clap them and say, oh, you're a hero, superwoman, this, whatever, you're our savior, when in reality they just did the bare minimum to save their face and keep you paying them by the views and the promotions and the products.
And to add on to that, mirroring, because this is a problem everywhere, but I'm specifically going to compare this issue to what's been happening in the US. Time and time again, us black people have been shot and harassed by law enforcement for years. Been going on since the mistreatment of black people been going on since the creation of this country. And every time, this is just bodies, black people being shot by law enforcement. No accountability. Yes, locally there will be protests and riots, but never a national outrage like with what happened with Alex Preddy and Renee Good. Now, obviously, these two people, Alex Preddy and Renee Good, they didn't deserve to die. They were good people, and they were doing what they what they could to stand up to the regime. However, unlike with the tons and tons of black bodies that have accumulated from law enforcement killing us, they got national outrage. Everybody was protesting. Everybody was protesting. So the fact that it took white people getting shot by law enforcement for the white people in this community, in the country, to start standing up, that shows that this is a real problem, and it's and it shows up their biases, right? Like the fact that it had to take like something happening to a white person, or a white person have to be saying the same exact thing that us black people were saying to get public reaction, widespread reaction from people. It just shows the embedded racism that is in these communities and in these in this country. Like I said, the behaviors that I'm seeing in the Sims community, I'm seeing parts of it mirroring in the USA. And I just have to ask this question. For the people who still haven't exactly done the bare minimum yet, right? What is it gonna take for you to actually, leave, to actually say something? Because, in the US, after the whole outrage with Renee Good and Alex Pretty, right? There are some white motherfuckers asking, why are the black people resting at a time like this? Where are the black people? Why aren't the black people this, that, and the third? Like, number one, fuck off. Number two, we've been saying this for years. This type of injustice that has happened to those two white people, it's been happening to much more of us black people for years. We're not doing anything because we're preparing. We're prepared for this. We've been prepared for this, right? Don't fucking say, oh, but where are the black people? Because honestly, at that point, the only way for us to get out of this mess is if you white people actually fucking do something. Actually fucking stand on business. And in this behavior, I wouldn't be surprised if the same attitude starts popping up in the Sims community after shit hits the fan, right? So to these white creators in the Sims 4 community that hasn't done anything, hasn't done shit, hasn't left the EA creator network, what's it gonna take for you to leave? Because, as I mentioned before, right, with Saudi Arabia, everybody's been talking about Saudi Arabia. Like, I already mentioned it in the previous videos. Malcolm has already mentioned it. Lots of other creators have already mentioned Saudi Arabia. But nobody's been really talking about Jared Kushner and the Trump family. That should already be a problem for a lot of people. Because if you have been paying attention to what's going on in the news in America, and especially what was going on in the E-Man files, right? All of these people, it's pretty clear that these people are just doing, all these oligarchies, all of these top rich people have been doing stuff to trying to accumulate more power for themselves. They've been trying to hoard money, trying to give out bribes to people, trying to fund their own nefarious organizations, trying to fund their own operations to force control over the masses. And if you've been seeing with ICE and how Congress is doing fuck nothing to stop the government from giving more money to like DHS and ICE and all these military and police and everything, they're not doing anything to really regulate these organizations, these institutions, right? They're not doing anything. Like with this buyout, you know how much money like EA makes? A lot of money. And even if Jared Kushner was gonna get a small percentage of that, that's still gonna be a lot of money. A lot of money that he can then use for any other people that he might be connected with, or any other people that, you know, in the Trump family. They could probably use that money to send out bribes to fund, like, their own operations to try to oppress the American people or to oppress other people. It's been revealed in the files that a lot of these Eurocentric leaders have had associations with and with Donald Trump. You know, Donald Trump has been cozying up to the Prince of Saudi Arabia. J.K. Rowling was mentioned in the files, and it's not just she was simply mentioned. Like, her team was actively inviting him to, like, events. All these people saying, "Oh, protect the women and children, da 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 da, this, that, and the third," yet they're happily cushioning up to people who are dangerous to women and children. They're not concerned with our safety. They're concerned with gaining power. And I kind of am laughing at the people who are defending J.K. Rowling, saying, "Oh, but what she's concerned about women," yet she's here cozying up to. So, yeah, I know in that situation, in the witchcraft situation, like, again, I said it's like a lot nuanced, and this I've said that before, like, all these information was coming out in the files, right? I still stand by what I said in that video, but I just want to add another reason as to why please don't give money to J.K. Rowling or anything like that, because just add another reason as to why we shouldn't be giving more money to her, because she's associating herself. She has associated herself with that. But, you know, all these people, Jerry, like, the money that would be going to these three entities involved in the buyout is going to be used to control the market. It's going to be used to oppress people. It's going to use to fund all of these oligarchs and try to censor the American people, try to take away their freedom of speech. They have already started doing that. DHS has already started doing that with and Google happily complied to, like, give user data to them, which is why I said fuck Google, and I'm going to be switching, and I'm going to mention that more in the other video that I'll probably record right after this. But yeah, like, this is clearly a move to further their goals to spread to spread their control across the masses, and to spread authoritarianism, spread fascism, and stuff like that. So the fact that nobody has really been talking about this really in the Sims 4 community, if nobody else is really talking about that, then I'll be the first to talk about it. This is a clear move from the people in power to further their control over the people. They can't control the people if they don't have the money to do that. That's why they're doing that. These powerful people are trying to get into trying to control these powerful companies and to try to gain more power over the people. The Constitution was set up to make sure that people in the United States government shouldn't overreach their power, and yet this is what they're doing, and nobody's stopping them. And the American people has foolishly, especially like the white American people, and especially some of the Latino community too, have foolishly started their oppression and their demise because they voted for this president. Like, you pretty much voted for somebody who is going to dismantle the Constitution and take away our rights. And this deal is a clear move for them to consolidate more power and to gain more funding to do these things, and to uplift their cronies to facilitate authoritarianism and fascism. That's what this is. That's what this deal is.
Got PR teams that do PR crisis meetings, and they saw their numbers dropping, their
Yeah. Like, cause like I was speaking and then I lost my train of thought. But like, what I was trying to like, what I'm saying is like, what's it gonna take for y'all to leave? Is it? Are you gonna leave when shit hits the fan? When they're able to gain more power and to like facilitate their operations to hurt the people? Are you gonna wait until your loved ones get hurt and then you're gonna leave? Are you gonna wait until you get affected by this to leave? Because that's what's been happening in the United States. These MAGA people are saying all this bullshit, but when the stuff that they were perpetuating and promoting, saying, oh, stop like abortions and stuff like that, they're this, that, and the third, but when these MAGA women actually need these abortions, right? They're like, this isn't what I voted for. I'm like, yes, you did. Yes, you did vote for this. Yes, you did. Are you actually going to start speaking up now that it starts to affect you? All these MAGA men, all these MAGA women, are you going to actually start speaking up after it starts affecting you? Because that's what's been happening. We didn't get national outrage over the police brutality until after 2 white people were killed. They didn't start doing that until after 2 white people were killed. And it's been happening to black people for centuries now. Are you the people who are still in the Creator Network, the people who are still defending EA? What's it gonna take? Are you gonna wait until the last minute? And like I said before, for all the viewers who may come across this video, take note of who's still in the Creator Network. Take note of who leaves right before the deal goes through, or close to it, or leaves after the deal goes through. Take notes, because they weren't allies in the first place. They were too worried about being comfortable. They're worried about their own comfort over speaking up and speaking out and doing what's right. Because if it has to take for stuff to affect these people for them to actually speak out, they weren't allies in the first place. If these same people are saying, oh, we're allies, but yet they harass other creators for having different opinions, they harass other black creators and stuff like that, and they're not speaking out against LGBTQ plus issues that are happening within this community, they're not allies. They're not. And you know, I know it's like a pretty black and white take, but like with the behaviors that's been going on, that's essentially what's happening. That's essentially these are just what's the facts. Because if they were allies, they would be supporting the community. They would be supporting the people of color in this community, and they haven't been doing that. You know. So I will show clips. I will repeat this again because I have clips to go through. I'm just saying this now as it comes up. I know I tried going in order, but you know.
views dropping, their subscriptions dropping, and they knew they had to say something. And you guys applauded them and expected us to applaud them too, for the bare minimum. When smaller creators like SimSiga gave up their platform in ways of supporting exploitation, and they contributed legacy challenges to the game, they contributed to the storytelling, they provided resources to the game, they were instrumental to the future of The Sims, and they gave that up. And it was more of a risk for them than the big cushy creators with PR firms who make millions. And they received hate.
Mm-hmm.
That shows the embedded racism in this community. That white people who do it are seen as the saviors. And when a black person does it and calls out the hypocrisy, they're like, oh, you're just a hater. Oh, you're just hating.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, you're trying to force people to think like you. Oh my gosh. How dare you?
Mm-hmm.
And I'm gonna leave it at that. And I'm gonna leave it at here. There's nothing in life more addictive than success and the illusion of success. And I think that is where a lot of this back and forward foolishness is coming from. The inability to see the core plot. It's fear, but it's also the fear of giving up success.
Giving up convenience. Giving
And
up
if your success
convenience.
is tied to exploitation and
Mm-hmm.
hatred, what does that make you?
Exactly.
Who does that make you?
These white people, hold on, pause. These white people, a lot of these people don't want to give up their convenience, don't want to give up their comfortableness or whatever the word is. They would rather keep that instead of risking their own lives to stand with the marginalized and the oppressed. And the ones that do are killed or harassed. During the Jim Crow laws, white people were lynched if they tried supporting the black people. In Nazi Germany, the Germans were punished for supporting the Jews. The ones that do want to speak up and speak out, they get taken out. And it's oftentimes like isolated. You know, we need more people like this to counteract the people who want to continue to be complacent, honestly. And that's why we're in this fucking situation in the US. This is why we're in this fucking situation in Sims 4. This is why we're in this fucking situation out there in other parts of the world. White people just don't seem to want to support the brown and black people. The people who have different religion, the people who have different values. This is how they treat the oppressed. This is how they treat disabled people. They don't want to. They'd rather not. They'd rather be comfortable than stand on business than to advocate for others. And it's honestly sad.
And furthermore, we have to hold these individuals accountable.
Yes, they're not our friends.
Because they are just like the celebrities that we are constantly calling out for their actions. They are not you. They're not relatable to you. They have PR firms. They have millions and millions of dollars behind them. They have cushiony investments to where no matter what they can do, they're going to be okay. They're not lowly level people. They're not victims in this situation. The greatest victim in this situation is you. You are the greatest victim. And the greater victims are those people over in Saudi Arabia who are fearing for their lives. And our money is going to contribute to the uplifting and supporting the government that are making people's lives hell on earth.
And to add also to authoritarianism and fascism in the United States and the lack of competition in the market, because the private equity is in this deal. You add on to that
is why I will not be hand clapping big creators like Lil Simsy, Sid Mag, James Turner, all these people in their PR crafted statements, because I know PR. And I know that came from a place of a PR move rather than initial social justice enlightenment, which is going to change and transform the spaces in which we play, like The Sims, in which we live in which we use, like our iPhone. But that transformation cannot start if we stay idle and we stay silent and we expect the bare minimum from the conglomerates and the corporations that have left us and led us to the point of where we are.
Yeah, those were those clips that I showed, and that was the first video that I wanted to. Now this is another video from a creator known as Paul Lance. And this was by a video titled "It Doesn't Affect Me," quote unquote, White America since since 1619. Now, these other clips I'm going to show because I'm going to be repeating myself a lot in this video. I know. I tried to go in order, but when stuff pops in my head, sometimes I just have to say it to connect. But these aren't Sims creators, and I'm going to show the next two clips, or the next set of clips from two different videos. But these statements that they're saying, they can be applied to this community. So the first clip is from Paul Lance.
This is just for white people. So when I grew up, my mom would always try to wake me up and get me ready so that I could get on the school bus on time. And then some days I would just oversleep, or I would ignore her because I wanted that extra fucking sleep because it was just so cozy and comfortable, and I just felt so good while I was sleeping. And then ultimately I'd miss the bus, and then my mom would cuss me out, get me dressed, and have to drive me to school, but she's cussing me out the whole fucking way there because she told my ass to get up. That is me as a black person participating in anything political right now, because we told you niggas to get the fuck up. You niggas did not want to get up. You niggas was so fucking comfortable. It was, oh, sleepy. Oh, 5 extra minutes. 5 extra minutes. You bitches wanted 5 extra minutes so bad, you got it. Y'all wanted 5 extra minutes so bad, you got the 5 fucking extra minutes.
Yeah, this can be applied to the white creators in the Sim community. They wanted 5 extra minutes. They wanted to be so comfortable, but when it's actually time to stand on business, they were making so many fucking excuses. They were making so many fucking excuses instead of standing with the people of color and standing with the LGBTQ plus community. And what's really annoying is that some people, like 2 people I've mentioned, Satchon Sims and Goons or whatever that creator was, they're defending EA. And this is a type of phenomenon that's happening, that behavior that happens a lot of times with women trying to appease to the oppressors in this like hierarchy, like in these like in the society, the patriarchal society. Like some white women just want to cushy up to the misogynist white men in the beliefs that, oh, maybe they would be protected, and oh, it would be fine, you know, this, that, and the third. No, they would come for them. They will oppress them same way. Same to these creators, those 2 creators, as well as any other LGBTQ plus creator that's still defending the buyout and still defending capitalism and still defending the bullshit. They're still gonna come and oppress you too. You have an expiration date. Just because you're defending the buyout, or just because you're not speaking up against that doesn't mean that you're not going to be affected. It is going to affect you. And just because you think it's not going to affect you, you're wrong. Just because it doesn't affect you doesn't mean you still can't speak out and speak up for what's right and stay informed and stay and you know, and do your research and all that stuff, right? Satchon Sims defending, oh, there's no ethical consumption of the capitalism. Like I already explained why I've already explained, like people have already explained why that's bullshit, and I've already explained why it's important that we still stand up and speak out against these corporations, because we got so comfortable with convenience, we allowed them to get away with murder, and quite literally in some instances. So yeah, there's no ethical consumption of their capitalism, but we can still make sure that we choose ethical choices and protest and put pressure on these corporations and these governments to change, right? You know, doing something is better than doing nothing. Don't let perfection be the enemy of good. It's still important to speak out against these things. Boycotting The Sims 4 isn't going to make anything worse. It's going to put pressure on these companies to make sure that they can't fuck us over in the future, and that what they're doing is not what their audience, that their user base doesn't hold the same values as their user base. It will put pressure on them to actually listen to us. Because a lot of the times these governments, these companies, they don't care about whether or not they're ethical, right? The only way to get them to do what we want is if we put pressure on them. That's how it's always worked in government and with these companies. The only way to get them to actually do things is to put pressure on them. Recently, Microsoft has set out DMCA against another Minecraft-like game, quote-unquote, but it's not nothing like Minecraft. It's inspired by Minecraft, but it's not exactly like Minecraft. And they only revoked that DMCA takedown is pressure from their user base and from their community. That's how they're able to revoke that. The only way to get these governments and these companies to do what we want is to put pressure on them. So boycotting, voting with our wallets, right? Will make sure that these companies can't fuck us over in the future. So, to Goons that was saying, oh, don't boycott, it will make the situation, fuck that statement. Fuck that. Fuck that. This actually simply saying, oh, there's no ethical consumption or capitalism, oh, I don't read the news because it's that and the third, like, fuck that. You're pretty much saying that you'd rather be complacent and allowing these oppressive figures to perpetuate oppression, to perpetuate authoritarianism, to perpetuate fascism, to perpetuate their control over the market and prevent the market from being a free market. Fuck that. Fuck that.
We driving you bitch ass niggas to school and we barely want to fucking drive y'all. Y'all wanted 5 extra minutes and y'all got the shit. Now we barely want to drive you niggas to school and we cussing y'all ass out the whole fucking way because we told y'all ass to get the fuck up and y'all didn't want to get up. You niggas didn't want to get up. Y'all wanted 5 extra minutes so fucking bad. You got it. Congratulations. This is the fucking country you have. Now they killing y'all ass. Now y'all actually care.
Yeah.
What the fuck? 5 extra minutes. That's all y'all fucking wanted. So just know, while anything I'm politicating in right now, I barely want to be there, bro. Because we told you niggas so fucking long ago. And you niggas did not care because it wasn't happening to y'all on a mass level. It was happening to us, so it was fucking cool. Fuck y'all.
Ain't a damn thing she said wrong. Not one damn lie detected in that. There is one good thing that I am grateful for. When Vice President Harris lost the election, is that white people are going to have to suffer the consequences of their silence.
Exactly. They're saying this in the context of the political climate in the United States, but this can be applied to The Sims 4. Or to white people in general. You white people will have to suffer the consequences for your silence. And this could be applied to everywhere.
For too long, white people have ignored the mistreatment of anybody that doesn't look like me. And even now, oh, I can't talk to Uncle Bob because Thanksgiving might be weird. Ooh, I can't post publicly. My job might see it. Oh, I can't go on a strike. I can't afford to. I'll be uncomfortable. I can't do this. I can't do this. I can't do this. But I'll protest on a Saturday. Great job. Everybody, let's create white people awards for protesting on a Saturday every 4 months. Great job. Way to go, white people. And that's the problem. What's normal for white people isn't what's normal for everybody else in this damn country. That's been the problem. They voted for a rapist, a man who assaulted over 25 women, a man who molested little children on an island, a convicted felon who called women fat, who called women ugly. 5 officers died after January 6th. He tried to overthrow a free and fair election.
Talking about
refused to rent to black people.
The orange man.
Harris isn't black. Oh, how do I know that Obama was born here? And I could spend the next 2 hours talking about all of the horrible shit that he did.
Yeah, and he did more horrible shit after this video was posted. Like I said before, the orange man posted a racist post of the Obamas earlier this month. Racist motherfucker. And I feel like not a lot of people in the Sims community were talking about this. I already said it before. Like, this is... Jared Kushner is the son-in-law of this fucking racist, fascist, misogynist, ultimate danger to women and children. Like, I know that the president is going to use his son-in-law to try and gain more power for himself and for his cronies. And people in the Sim community are not talking about that. They're all talking about Saudi Arabia. And yes, Saudi Arabia, that government needs to be talked about, and that awareness needs to be spread. But nobody's talking about the Trump family and Jared Kushner and what they're doing, as well as the private equity. Because we're having a private equity problem over here. Private equity buying up stuff, trying to take control of the market, prevent competition. You know, taking up journalists, buying up journalists, buying up homes, buying up industries. We got Disney, we got Microsoft, we got Apple trying to crush competition, have control over the media, things like that. You know, it's a real big problem. It's a real big problem. And nobody in the Sims community is talking about the private equity and Jared Kushner and the Trump family. It's not just about the human rights violations in Saudi Arabia. It's really bad. And honestly, if it was just about Saudi Arabia, we should be boycotting EA for that alone, right? For the buyout for that alone. But it's also about preventing competition in the market, and preventing, you know, authoritarianism and fascism to grow in the United States. And these powerful people in the United States, they had connections to people in the UK, in Europe, who are also spilling out these authoritarian practices and trying to control over their people as well. I will talk about collective shout and that surveillance overall, and privacy and media preservation and stuff like that in the next recording that I will do right after this. But, you know, I already said this before, this is a clear attempt at these people at power to try to gain control over the masses, and they can't gain control over the masses if they don't have the funds to do so, if they don't have the resources to do so. This is a way for them to gain more resources to do so. And nobody's talking about it in the Sims 4 community. I feel like that's really important that has been made aware, that this buyout is a clear attempt at the people at power to try to gain control over the masses and to gain more resources to promote their fascism and their authoritarianism.
You went to the voting booth after he added $8 trillion to the deficit, 6 bankruptcies, and 3 failed marriages. And you said, yep, that's my guy. Yep, because I want to make America white again. That's all it was. And he convinced enough racist people in this country that brown people coming from Mexico, the people that are busting their ass, building houses out in the fields, doing the work that white people have been too lazy to do since 1619, were somehow ruining America.
Just to add on this, in the case of the Sims 4 community, like Rikki4 or RikkiStars already mentioned this, but the people of color in the Sims 4 community has been contributing so much content to the Sims 4. Good quality CC, good quality videos, stuff like that. So much contributions that us people of color has contributed to this community, and we're treated like shit. And the same for the LGBTQ plus community. They're good creators in the Sims 4 community that are LGBTQ plus and that really care about LGBTQ plus issues. And they've contributed so much, and they've advocated so much. And this is the response that they get from the big large creators and and their audiences. They're not getting the same support. They're all these white people, especially white people that are not trans or not you know, that are cis, that, you know, that aren't really standing on business alongside them, and they're just willing to stay complacent instead of, you know, standing with the LGBTQ plus community. They'd rather be complacent than stand with the people of color. Like, they would rather they don't want to do the hard work. They don't want to be uncomfortable. It's always up to the marginalized group to be screaming up to the rooftops to get people to listen. You know, the system is designed to listen to white people. They have the power to spread the word and to stand with us because they have that privilege, they have that power. Yet these powerful people in these high seats don't want to do shit. They don't want to use their privilege to protect us. And we've been screaming till our faces are red, screaming until we get shot and killed, and nothing gets done. And it's only unless something happens to the white people, or the white people say something that things get done. Yeah, most of the time the white people don't want to do shit. And it's the same everywhere, and especially in the Sims community. Y'all white people don't want to do shit. Y'all white people, especially the white people who aren't in the LGBTQ+ community, they want to scream ally, but when it's time for them to actually be an ally, they aren't an ally. And it's really fucking annoying because they claim diversity, yet they are willing to send their viewers to harass other creators. Like, it's Malcolm has already called out these creators and exposed their other creators for their harassment campaigns, right? He's called them out. They've called them out multiple times already. You know? And yeah, speaking of these creators, with Daniel Builds, like, it's about time that I mentioned with Daniel Builds. Like, not Malcolm pretty much made a video talking about, you know, all these sets of creators that got like handbags from EA, and Daniel Builds was one of the creators that said, "Oh, I care about this buyout, this, that, and the third." Yet they're still, I don't know their pronouns, so I'm just gonna say they, but they're still in the fucking EA creator network. They're still in a financial relationship with EA, and they failed to mention that in the description of their videos. And it's required for creators to disclose whether or not they're in a financial relationship with another company and stuff like that. Like, Malcolm already has a video talking about the whole situation, so I recommend that you go watch that. I'll link that in the description, if I can remember. But yeah, and then this motherfucker was making excuses after, like, Malcolm called them out. They made excuses. They made quotes making excuses, saying, "Oh, this, that, and the third, blah 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 blah." When, yeah, just essentially making excuses. And this is the problem. This is the problem. They don't want to admit that they're contributing to the problem. You say that, oh, you care, this, that, and the third, blah 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 blah. No, you don't. No, you don't. No, you fucking don't. Because if you did care, you would have been out of the creator network months ago. And if you did care, you would either A, leave the creator network, right? B, not give this company, or B, not give this company any more of your money. If you really, and, you know, continue to stand up. What they say doesn't match up with their actions. And I already said this before, just keep an eye on those creators' actions. Those who are still in the creator network now, those who will still be in it after the buyout goes through, those who leave right before or closely before the buyout closes, because keep an eye on those people, because those people who claim that they're allies are not. They're not. They're rather be as comfortable for as long as they possibly can before actually standing up for the LGBTQ+ community, for standing up for the diversity in this community, and standing up for people of color. Yeah. So all these people saying, "Oh, I care about," but you're not doing anything, and you're still in the creator network, or still giving money to EA. No, you're not. Fuck you. You're not. Just simply saying that you care is not enough. You need to back that up with your actions. And I said this before with Quinevo, with her empty ass, oh, I hear the disabled people statement bullshit. You can't just say, oh, I hear you. We're listening. I'm listening. EA has been doing that, and they haven't been listening to the community for what they want. They keep dropping the ball over and over and over and over again. You can't just say, I hear you. You have to say, if you're going to say, I hear you, you have to follow that up with your actions. If you say, oh, we care about diversity, then listen to the diverse people that are in this community, not just the white people. Listen to the black creators. Listen to the people who have different religious beliefs. Listen to the people of color, like the Muslims, the Indians, or other indigenous people. Listen to them. Oh, you say, oh, I care about the buyout, I care about LGBTQ plus rights, la 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 la. Even if you have donated to charities that don't do shit. What matters is real action, not simply moving your money somewhere. That's not enough. Just saying you care is not enough. Just donating is not enough. You actually need to back that up with activism. We need you to say it. You need to not give your money to problematic entities that promote the abuse of LGBTQ plus people and people of color and human rights and things like that. Don't give money to these problematic corporations, right? And and speak out when issues that are affecting LGBTQ plus people are happening within this community. You can't just say, "Oh, I care," and then do nothing and still be complacent.
But the white man, who is an adjudicated rapist and a convicted felon, who led an insurrection on democracy, somehow that's perfectly fine, but I'm not racist. It's always been about race, people. It's all been about race. And until white people wake up and start being uncomfortable, until you start doing something, then this shit is going to continue.
Apply that to the Sims 4 community
now and feel it, or you can continue to go like this and say, it doesn't affect me. And if you think it's bad now, you haven't seen a damn thing. When we invade Greenland and NATO kicks us out, when the US dollar goes down to a B rating, and the debt that Canada and China and Japan have, which is $2 trillion, they cash it in, and we have to print more money, it's going to dilute the US dollar. It's no longer going to be the world currency. We will no longer be the world power. But America first. Because enough of you white people have heard about nationalism bullshit.
Yeah. Like you said, white people are so worried about being comfortable. Y'all are too damn comfortable. Y'all still in the EA Creator Network, all making so much money off of your views. Y'all are so used to being so damn comfortable. You're not willing to give that up and risk that up for your fellow comrades in the community that don't look like you. And it's sad. Just apply all of what you said to the Sims 4 community with the buyout. I will show you this last clip from a creator called Tina Thompson. And this is about pretty much, and this is a video that they made, why Americans will never strike like the French and why that's the problem. So, it was a video made in relation to the political climate that's going on in the US, but this can also be applied to the behaviors and the thought processes that's happening to these white people in the Sims 4 community. And I feel like it's something that needs to be said. I will say here that a lot of the times, people have this mentality like it's all or nothing, right? If you don't protest perfectly, then that's bad. And I already called out another creator in the video before this, calling her out on the hypocrisy, because she was the one that said don't let perfection be the enemy of good, and yet she was promoting this type of behavior that she was calling out in one of the recent videos that she made. And this can be applied to The Sims 4. I guess there's a lot of problems um within capitalism and giving your money to problematic corporations. But like what I said before, right? You can still, just because, like, it's the reason why we've gotten ourselves in this situation, because we allow these corporations to have control over the market. And why there's not a lot of good competition in the market right now. We just let it happen. We've just become too complacent. It's like this all or nothing. Oh, we can't all be like ethical because some of our money is going up to all these bad practices and this, that, and the third. But we have the power to direct our money to good causes. You don't have to give your money to these greedy corporations. And if we boycott these corporations and put pressure on them, then they'll be forced to listen to our demands. Right? Some people are not able to speak out in the same way that that other people do. And this creator, I don't think I include the clip in these set of clips. This creator talked about civil disobedience and how we don't exactly have groups like that of the freedom fighters or of the suffragettes anymore, and it's partly to do with the government as well as their how they program the American thought processes. But you know, I still am of the belief that, protest the way that you can and the best that you can, because, disabled people, you're not able to move, other situations that might be going on. Like, as long as you do something, because that small thing can go a long way. It's better than doing nothing, because doing nothing doesn't get shit done. We need to be doing something, right? But I think the major problem is we don't have groups that are willing to partake in acts of civil disobedience to truly put pressure on the government. All we have now is we just need to be consistent. But it's the stuff that this creator said, like Tina, um, she pretty much vocalized my annoyances with like protests in America nowadays and why shit isn't really getting done the way that we need to get things done. I would recommend watching the whole video, because I think it's really important, not just in the political landscape, but also in like your own communities as well. It doesn't have to just be applied to governments, like I said. Um, Applied to corporations, especially since a lot of these corporations are just cushioning up to the government. The government's cushioning up to the corporations. So these ideas can be applied to both of them. But let me move over to these clips. Um,
July 14th, 1789. A crowd of ordinary Parisian workers, bakers, blacksmiths, shoekeepers, stormed a government fortress called the Bastille. They didn't ask for permission. They didn't sign a change.org petition. They just took it. And here's the crazy part. France celebrates this day every year as its national holiday. Like, imagine if America's 4th of July was about the time regular people violently overthrew the government. Wait, but America's founding was a revolution too, right? Yeah, it was. But we conveniently forgot that part. We turned it into a barbecue holiday. But the French didn't forget, because they didn't just have one revolution. They kept doing it. In 1830, the French overthrew the king again. In 1848, they overthrew that government. And in 1870, they overthrew power again. Then, in World War II, when the Nazis occupied France, regular people formed the resistance and fought their own government. Now, imagine being a French kid at this time with a grandmother who's in the resistance. At dinner, she's telling you about the time she and her neighbors fought armed soldiers because the government had become illegitimate. What lesson are you learning? You're learning that sometimes, when those in power break the social contract, people have the right, the responsibility, to break some rules too.
yeah, and I said this before, but that can be applied to corporations too. The government is not here, we're not here, the government is here to serve us, to protect our rights and our interests. And if that government is not doing what it needs to do those things, then the people has the right to to remind them, to keep them in check. And that can be applied to these mega corporations as well. And I already said this before, but I know I'm repeating myself a lot in this video, but I really need to write it home as to why this is like really important. So, going off of my notes from my Western history, or my Western civilization class, so this was from John Locke, and this is like the bullet points in the PowerPoint. One of the bullet points was, all governments are an expression of the social contract. If the government doesn't represent the masses can get rid of the government. Although at the time that only applies to free white men, not women, minorities, and slaves. But keep this idea in mind. If the government is not representative of the masses have the right to put the government in check. And that is the same with these mega corporations. If these mega corporations aren't representative of the values of their consumers, the consumers have every right to not support these mega corporations. We shouldn't have to be forced to support these mega giant corporations. And we have to remind them that we don't have to, because they wouldn't be in these positions if we weren't using their products. So, just wanted to add that. I know I already said that before, and I know I'm repeating myself a lot in this video, but I just want to reiterate why I'm saying is important.
American kids learned, 1776 happened, a declaration was signed, democracy was achieved, and we all lived happily ever after. French kids learn, your job as a citizen is to constantly check power, even when, and especially when, it's inconvenient. That difference compounds over generations. In 2005, 2 French teenagers, Zayed and Bouna, were killed running from the police. Within hours, French cities are burning, and not just a few neighborhoods. I'm talking across the entire country. For weeks, the government declares a state of emergency. International news calls it chaos. But you know what happened? Actual investigations, police accountability reforms, a national reckoning with police violence. Compare that to America. How many names do you know? How many videos have we seen? George Floyd, Breonna Taylor, Tamir Rice, Philando Castile. The list goes on and on and on. We had the largest protests in American history in 2020. There were millions of people in the streets. And what changed systematically? Almost nothing. Qualified immunity still exists. And in fact, police budgets actually went up in most cities. The French riot for weeks and get reforms. Americans protest peacefully for months and get nothing. So what's the difference? Now look, before you comment something like, but France has problems too, I know, okay? I know that France isn't perfect. They also have serious issues with racism, with police violence against minorities, economic issues, youth unemployment is terrible, their treatment of Muslim communities has major problems, so I'm not at all saying that France is some utopia that you should worship. I'm just saying that they understand this one specific thing better than Americans. How to collectively resist when government overreaches.
Yeah, we need to collectively resist when government overreaches, and collectively resist when mega giant conglomerate corporations overreaches. And I'm sure I'll be reiterating these same points in the next video that I will make. But yeah, we need, especially in this time where all these governments seem to want to implement surveillance, control over the media, this, that, and the third. Yeah, I really think it's important that we start saying "fuck y'all" to these mega giant corporations and these governments, and start fighting for our rights, and for fighting for our rights, fighting for other people's rights, and etc., and fighting for ethical practices.
That's it. That one thing. And we can learn from that without pretending that France is perfect. The French operate on a completely different assumption about power. French citizens see themselves as a source of government power. The government works for them. If the government forgets that, Citizens remind them, by force if
The social
necessary.
contract.
American citizens see the government as something separate, something above them. You vote, you hope for the best, and you wait for the next election. When the French government tried to deport undocumented immigrants more aggressively in the past few years, do you know what happened? French citizens, people who had nothing to do with immigration personally, physically blocked deportation buses. They surrounded detention centers. They made it impossible to carry out. In America, ICE raids schools and churches. Neighbors watch it happen. We're outraged on TikTok and Twitter. Some people do physically intervene. Alex Preddy did. He stepped in between ICE agents and someone they were trying to detain, and he was shot and killed for it. His death reveals something crucial. Individual acts of courage happen in the US too, but they're isolated, they're unsupported, and they're often fatal. The French have been taught, if the government does something immoral, making it illegal for you to stop them doesn't make it right. It makes resistance necessary. But French resistance doesn't come from nowhere. There's infrastructure, neighborhood assemblies, community networks, political organizations that aren't waiting for election season to make a change.
Yeah, and we shouldn't be, in the case, tying this back to The Sims 4, we shouldn't wait until the deal goes through to protest. And this creator says that later with like laws and stuff in the USA, we shouldn't wait until a law gets passed to start protesting it. We should be constantly protesting it. You know, we should make it harder for these corporations, for these governments to maintain the implementations that are these harmful implementations, you know, make it harder, you know. And at the start of the EA, when the news broke out for the EA buyout, there was like protests, there was outrage, but then after it died down, people just started pretending like nothing is happening. Like, aside from the creators that stood on business, the rest of them who haven't stood on business are still trying to pretend like nothing's happening. And I think not Malcolm revealed, like in another video, of a creator who unlisted one of his problematic videos that perpetuated the problematic statements that a lot of these cushiony white people have been saying in the Sims community. Like, I already broke down why those statements are like shit. These like opinions are shit, you know, because, you know, like the creator was saying, comparing like the needs, you know, the phone thing, the needs and stuff like that. Like, I already spoke about that already, but yeah, it's like this mentality, you know, just trying to make excuses, you know. And that's the problem. That's the problem. The Sims community is just a good chunk of them, especially the loud bits of them, are just not willing to stand alongside with the diverse people within the community, you know. And we can't collectively resist this decision if, you know, the white people aren't willing to stand with the marginalized group. The white cis people aren't willing to stand with the marginalized groups and the LGBTQ plus community.
High school students organize walkouts and protest regularly, not just about school issues, but about national politics, climate issues, humanitarian rights. American students have to ask the principal for permission to hold a protest after school in a designated area. See the difference? And when there's a threat to democracy, different groups coordinate. Unions, student groups, immigrant rights organizations, environmental activists, they all recognize if one right falls, all rights are threatened.
Yeah. And tying this back to the Sims 4 community, right? All these people that are saying, oh, this won't affect me, this, that, and third, blah, 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 blah. Yes, it will. Yes, it will. This is a way for these powerful conglomerate fascist oligarchs, right? They're trying to control the masses. And once they start controlling the marginalized groups, then they're gonna start controlling the white people. It's already been happening. It happened before many times. It happened during Jim Crow. It happened during Nazi Germany, right? Nazi Germany didn't just attack the Jews. They attacked the disabled people. They attacked other races. You know, they attacked their political opponents. They tried, you know, putting everybody that they could into these concentration camps, right? It wasn't just the Jews. It was, they first targeted the Jews and then they went after everybody else, including the other Germans that live in the country that do fit the description of the perfect race that they were saying. Once they resisted, they were no longer deemed as perfect, and they were killed and punished for it. Like, it's the same mentality over here in the United States. You know, when Renee Good was shot, she was said that she wasn't a good one. She wasn't a good woman because she didn't fall in line with the patriarchal society, right? She was resisting. It's the same mentality, right? They go after the marginalized groups, but if the white, and then they come after the white people if they don't fall in line. That's all. That's, of course, it affects everybody. It's going to affect you one way or another. It will affect you.
The Yellow Vest in 2018 started as a protest against gas tax, but it became about defending democracy itself, about the feeling that the government doesn't listen to its people anymore. You had rural conservatives protesting alongside urban leftists. People who disagreed on almost everything agreed on one thing. The government works for us, not the other way around. And they forced the president to back down. He made multiple concessions. Macron's political capital was permanently damaged. That's what organized, sustained resistance looks like. Not a march on Saturday when everyone goes home at the end feeling good, but weeks of making normal life impossible until power responds. Now, here's the part that's gonna make you angry. Americans didn't just understand this once upon a time, but we were actually good at it. Remember the civil rights movement? They didn't win by asking nicely. They won by making segregation impossible to sustain. Sit-ins that shut down businesses, marches that blocked commerce, boycotts that crushed local companies. They got beat up, they got arrested, and yes, some even got killed. But they made the cost of maintaining segregation higher than the cost of ending it. And they won. The labor movement, they occupied factories, they fought Pinkertons, they had literal battles with private armies hired by corporations. Suffragettes chained themselves to buildings. They went on hunger strikes. They set fires. Every major right Americans have today was won through disruption, not politeness. So, what happened? Well, the US government happened. COINTELPRO, the FBI's counterintelligence program that ran from 1956 to 1971, was explicitly designed to disrupt, misdirect, and discredit and otherwise neutralize political movements that the government deemed threatening. They didn't just spy on activists, but they assassinated leaders, planted false evidence, and destroyed organizations from within. Then, they made the effective tactics illegal. Blocking infrastructure, federal crime. Occupying buildings, you're getting criminal trespass and domestic terrorism charges. Effective boycotts, illegal now under various state laws. Masking your identity at protests, that's also illegal now in many states.
And yet these ICE officers are allowed to put masks on themselves. Like, I'm just like commenting on that in regards to ICE. But like, you can see why this is an issue. Like, the stuff that she's saying about, America and stuff like that, because the same thinking that Americans have had in regards to protesting and standing on business and speaking out, it's the same mentality that I'm seeing with the white cis folks in The Sims 4. That's why I'm showing these clips, because these behaviors are mirroring each other. And I'm playing these clips to really emphasize why it's important that we need to stand on business and to recognize what these people in power are trying to do, what these mega corporations are trying to do.
Protest too effectively, and you'll spend decades in prison. The message here is this: you can protest as long as it doesn't actually threaten power. But the legal crackdown was only the half of it. They also reprogrammed how Americans think about resistance. They turned Martin Luther King Jr., who said, "A riot is a language of the unheard," into a saint of peaceful, convenient protest. They completely erased the fact that he was arrested 29 times, he shut down cities, that he was called a communist and a troublemaker. Now,
yeah, and I think I've heard, this was like years ago, where I've heard that the government was wiretapping him too. So he was violating his privacy rights, violating his privacy. These governments and these corporations are just violating our privacies constantly. So these companies, the governments, they're not our friends. They don't share the same values as us. And as we've seen in the United States, even the Democrats have been fucking us over time and time again. Whether they be Democrat or Republicans, they don't care about the masses. They don't care about the average person. They don't care about the marginalized people. I've been seeing it with the recent political state, but yeah, they're not your friends. These EA developers, they're not your friends. These EA creators, these Sims 4 creators, they're not your friends. The governments that you're under, they're not your friends. Okay? We can't keep being complacent and not saying anything when these entities keep fucking us over and oppressing marginalized groups.
We're taught, be civil, be peaceful, don't disrupt, work within the system. If you block a highway, they'll say, you're hurting your cause. Break a window and you'll hear, this delegitimizes the movement. And God forbid you make anyone uncomfortable. They'll be quick to tell you, this isn't how you create change. Except being civil hasn't worked. The system just ignores civil protest. Million-person marches that politicians can just wait out. Online petitions that get ignored. Awareness campaigns that raise awareness but don't stop the harm. So now, when
awareness campaigns like saying, "Oh, what about this that's happening in China?" Yes, you're bringing awareness, but are you actually doing anything about it? No, you're gonna mention it and then forget about it. You're not actually gonna do anything about it. So, you know.
Something unjust happens, here's the American response. Post about it online. Call your senator. He doesn't care. Vote in the next election. It's 9 months away. We doom scroll, we feel helpless, and the cycle repeats. Meanwhile, when something unjust happens in France, people organize within hours. Streets get blocked within days. The government faces actual consequences within weeks. It's the same injustice, but a completely different response. Now, I do want to be clear about something. People are organizing in America. There are protests happening around the country right now. The media doesn't show this because they don't want you to know. They don't want you getting ideas. They don't.
Because of the governments and then these private equities having control over these journalists and these journalist firms and everything like that. This is why I keep saying that private equity is a problem, because they're trying to control the media and control what we see. So
don't want you organizing. So don't think that people aren't doing anything. They are. And I don't know if the US media is showing this, but I see it here in France on the news. But the truth is, most of these protests aren't working. And it's not because people don't care or they're not trying hard enough, but because we've forgotten the tactics that forces power to respond.
Yeah, and that's the clips that I'm going to show for this video. I recommend any of these clips that I show. I will link them in the description. I do recommend that you watch the full videos to get the full context and their full points, because I really think that it's important for these points to be talked about. And to connect these, and I've already connected them all to like The Sims 4 and everything. Like, I just sound like a broken record, but I'm showing these and I'm responding to these clips and these videos to really emphasize why it's important, why we have to stand on business. And I keep saying it over and over and over again, but this deal is a clear attempt at the people in power to try to control the media, to try to oppress their people, in the case of Saudi Arabia, to oppress the people and to continue to commit human rights violations. And it's an attempt at them to turn to spread fascism and to spread authoritarianism in the case of the Trump family and the United States. You know, like, this is a clear attempt at a control. They want to gain more resources so that they can fund their operations to control the masses. And I feel like not a lot of people in the Sims 4 community are talking about this. They keep saying Saudi Arabia, Saudi Arabia, Saudi Arabia. And yeah, that is a problem, but everybody's ignoring the other glaring issues within this deal with Jared Kushner and the private equity that's going to be in the buyout as well, right? And I know I've been talking, this video is going to be incredibly long, but I'm doing it this way, like, aside from, I'm like sick and everything, so I can't really do this video editing as sophisticated as I would like to, but I just do not have the energy to really do it the way that I would like to do it. But I downloaded these clips, I broke these videos, I got the relevant clips that I wanted to respond to, and I'm reacting to them and adding in my own commentary and explaining these things to you to really drive home and to really let people aware that this is a clear attempt at them to spread fascism, authoritarianism, and everything like that. And the issues that I've been seeing in America with the whole issue with ICE and the files and everything like that. I'm seeing a lot of these same behaviors mirroring in the Sims 4 community, and a lot of these Eurocentric cis white people in the community pretty much saying, making all these excuses instead of standing on business is a problem. They claim that they are allies, but they are not allies. They are not allies. They want to stay comfortable for as long as they possibly can, right? Being an EA creator is not a job, it's voluntary. They make their money through YouTube videos. So there's no reason why they cannot leave the EA network. If you're a creator, and you make Sims 4 videos, if you're not comfortable moving on to another game, you don't have to if you don't want to. Though it's not exactly the best practice to focus your channel on one thing, especially in the sense that there's a chance that that one thing may not last for a very long time. It's always good to diversify your content, so if one thing fails, at least you have a backup. Or if life changes and you can't exactly do one type of content anymore, at least you'll have like a backup, right? But if you can't move to another game, you don't have to change to another game to still make money on YouTube. You can still play The Sims 4 if it's still bringing views and it's still paying the bills, but you don't need to continuously keep buying packs and kits and expansion packs, right, to have fun with the game, especially since the more you keep buying these packs, the more broken your game is going to become, right? These packs are broken. They end up conflicting with other packs and breaking other packs. You don't need to keep buying more of these packs, and especially the kits. You don't have to keep buying these kits. In fact, you're better off just downloading CC by excellent creators that do a wonderful job at designing these kits and these designing furniture and clothing and hairstyles and skin tone better than what The Sims has been putting out for years now. You're better off just downloading CC. You don't have to keep giving money to EA. Just stop giving money to EA because, they have all the resources. They know they have all the resources. It's like The Sims 4 and EA are very successful. They have the resources to do better, yet they refuse to do better. They refuse to listen to the diverse community. They keep saying, "Oh, we listen," but time and time again, they keep dropping the ball. And especially with the recent pack, the Royals pack that came out, they fucked up. They fucked up yet again. You don't have to keep giving money to these people, right? You don't have to keep giving money to these people. You don't have to be in the EA Creator Network. You don't have to be. So you can still play your favorite game without contributing to the bullshit that EA keeps doing over and over and over and over and over again, and the bullshit that Sims 4 has continued to do over and over and over and over and over again. So I just want to end this off because I sound like a broken F word. I just want to end this off to recommend some creators, because I am going to link this playlist in the description below. I have it private right now, but I'll make it public once I upload this video. And it's a list of videos giving out valuable information about authoritarianism and what's happening in the US and this, that, and the third. I will also link specifically. I will also link specifically this a video that by the creator Emo Ketsune Designs, and it's a video titled "Guide to Using Your Art, Writing and Crafting to Fight Authoritarianism." And I want to share this video because it's super helpful And I will also want to add to it. So this video pretty much gives you methods on how to use your art to fight off fascism and authoritarianism. And she's mentioned like using memes, drawing, writing, making music, things like that. After I watched this video, I got a whole bunch of recommended videos on music that, you know, that resists, music made to resist the authoritarianism that's happening in this country. And I would also want to add that you can use gaming as a source to resist too. So if anybody plays Minecraft, you can use that as an art form to build like messages or to build like scenes to fight against authoritarianism. If you play The Sims 4, because you know The Sims 4, like you guys make videos. At least in The Sims 3, I don't know if it was Sims 3 or Sims 2, but I know back in the day when we were younger, I would see my sister watching videos of like movie scenes or music videos recreated in The Sims. So, and then I would see photos of um Sims like photos of like the Sims like posed in like posed in like pictures and stuff like that. You can make videos and pose your and make stories using using this game. You can make photos resisting the authoritarianism and the fascism. You can use The Sims as an art form to promote and speak out against the injustices that are happening in Saudi Arabia. You can use that. You can use the game to fight back against the oppression that's been happening. So I just want to shout out to this creator, and I would also recommend that you share that video, share it with your friends, share it with everybody you know, share it within the Sims community, because I feel like you people in the Sims community really need to see this video, right? I would recommend that you use that you share that. I would also recommend I've also I also specifically link to songs that I recently found that recently got recommended to me. I found it in my feed. If anybody listens to Utao or Vocaloid, I'll link these two music videos by the creator Flanger Moose. I think those music videos where they use Teto, so yeah, I think I'll link that. And I will link my other playlist for privacy in this video as well, because lately, as I'm sure some of you have I already mentioned this, but to say it again, like recently, the government, the DHS was sending subpoenas to these large social media platforms as well as Google. And I think Google and Reddit complied with giving DHS personal private user data to them so that they can compile a list of accounts who are anti-ICE. Where have we heard this list of problematic individuals before? So, going after, if I were to like refer to my notes from Western history, from my Western history class, I believe it was a certain individual who goes by the name of Robespierre. I think that's how you pronounce it. I believe that he was the one that wanted the king of France at the time to be killed, to be executed. But yeah, once he came to power and everything like that, the Reign of Terror happened. The Reign of Terror happened. He had like a list of people who he thought were against the revolution, problematic, people that he deemed were problematic, things like that. And yeah, people who expressed negative thoughts on the revolution would be executed. 40,000 people executed in June of 1794. 300,000 people arrested. That sounds a little bit familiar. Oh, and I have another example. If I were to go back into my notes and find the Russian Revolution notes, if I can find that, I believe with the Cheka, the secret police, they were doing something similar. Spying on people, collecting lists, you know? I believe we watched a documentary during the time of the USSR, or actually, no, I think it was actually with Germany and the Berlin Wall. Yeah, I think it was Germany and the Berlin Wall, where they had like a secret police like checking on people, and if you expressed your opinions to want to go leave and go over to the other side, they would punish you for it. And there was this one person who was punished for it. They wouldn't allow her to go outside. Hmm, that sounds incredibly familiar. Oh, I have another example. I think it was with Spain. With with fascism. If I could find, yeah, I think we watched a documentary on like fascism in Spain. You know, what was his name? Um, but yeah, the leader in Spain um also had like a list of like people that he deemed suspicious, and they killed like a whole bunch of people during that time. Familiar, huh? Wow. History sure does rhyme sometimes, huh? This is clearly an attempt. This has happened before. This has happened before. And honestly, we should be mobilizing and doing what we can to protect ourselves and to protect the people we care about. So even I'm going to talk about this more in the next recording, in the next video, but I would highly recommend that people start moving their Gmail accounts to like using different emails, using different like search engines, using different browsers and stuff like that to ones that don't surveil you as often. Now, I know it's kind of impossible to completely get rid of Google and to completely get rid of Microsoft and to completely get rid of these social media platforms because they have such a chokehold over the market, right? Over the society, right? But I would highly encourage that people encourage professionals, like professional coders, professional software developers and engineers to create alternatives that are just as good as YouTube, just as good as Instagram, just as good as TikTok. I had to delete my TikTok account after it was revealed that it was sold to one of Donald Trump's cronies. So I left. And what happened after the acquisition was immediate censorship. So yeah, I moved to Upscrolled, but I haven't done anything over there. Um, there was also the other Chinese social media app like TikTok that people were moving over when it was first rumored that TikTok was going to be bad. I would recommend that people move over to that. Um, and also, like, with Haven, I'm going to link the Kickstarter in the description below, and I'll also link it again in the next video that I'm going to make, because we have to support when people are trying to give alternative solutions that would be just as good as these other social media platforms, right? So, yeah, we need to start moving away from these platforms and start giving more attention to the other ones, to the other alternatives, and also to like support and fund new other alternatives and the alternatives that exist. So for my alternatives, I would recommend Zen browser instead of using Google Chrome or Firefox, because it doesn't surveil you, it doesn't collect your data, and I also really like it because it, you know, really helps with organization. So I am going to show this here, but this is the Zen browser. I will show this window again in the next video, but um, and I'll go more into it there. But yeah, I've been using this and it's been really helping me with my organization. Um, so yeah, I even have a specific workspace for simply Stardew Valley and Stardew Valley modding. But yeah, I would recommend Zen browser for that. Unfortunately, it doesn't seem like they have like an app for iPhone or iPad users, and for Android users, I think it's just a desktop app. But it is open source, so I would highly, highly, highly recommend that people go over there and either and show some support for like an app version, or contribute development for an app version. Or if you have more experience with coding, you can like fork it yourself and make an app version if you so wish to. Um, but yeah, there was some people that had mixed feelings about the Zen browser, but I think most people like the Zen browser. There was one person that didn't exactly give like a fair review of the Zen browser because he was complaining about, oh, it didn't have the same AI features that Arc had, because Zen browser was based off of another browser called Arc, and their team is AI focused. And honestly, I don't think that creator gave a really good and objective review. And some of the stuff that he was complaining about, yes, they can be also good concerns too, but it can also depend on your system and how good your system is. I'm used to Firefox lagging out on me because I do a lot on this computer, and yeah, the lag can also be attributed to if you have other applications running alongside of this. If you're not able to run Zen browser for whatever reason, or if it starts to get slow over time, I guess you can still use Firefox, but I'm not recommending Firefox because A, there seem to be pushing more AI features, and yes, it's been said that they're optional, but you know, you can't really trust these companies when they say, oh, they don't collect their data, but they're pushing AI, and there's been privacy concerns with AI. Not to mention the fact that there was another video that I saw where it seems like last year they were doing some questionable stuff with their terms of service and with privacy. So I would take using Firefox with a huge grain of salt. If you have no choice, use it. But I would make sure that you go through your settings and make sure that you turn whatever data collection they have on off. The other recommendation that I'm going to put here is Start Page. It's like Google, but it doesn't track you. And I would also recommend like another browser um, named Mojik, but there was a disclaimer. It does. I think it has like a different search index. So when you search up stuff, the same stuff that you would think would pop up first when you go into Google to search, it won't pop up. It will show you more niche websites, but I would only use that as a backup if Start Page really isn't really your cup of tea or something like that. I don't know. It's like an alternative. I won't recommend DuckDuckGo because it was revealed that they don't block Microsoft trackers, even though they said that nothing gets tracked. So don't trust them. Um, but yeah. So I'm still in the process of moving my stuff over to an email address. I'm using one one called Zoho. So I'm using Zoho Mail. I'm in the process of moving all of my stuff over. And they also have Zoho Sheets, Zoho Doc, and stuff like that. I will go more into depth in the other video, but I've been trying to move over to that one. So far I haven't had any problems, but it's only been like a couple days, so I can't exactly, say if it's really good or not. They claim that they're privacy focused and they don't sell your information and stuff like that. So that's why I started using it. It takes a little bit of getting used to because it's not you can't have I don't think you can have so many email accounts with them, I don't think, but I don't know, the process is a bit confusing. It's like more of like a free option because the other options that have been recommending are paid, and you can only have one email account with the free version, which is really not great if you want to separate everything. But yeah, that's just a quick thing that I wanted to mention. Um, I would also recommend that when you go into your social media apps that you make sure that you try to see if you can turn off anything that collects your data. Try to see if you can move into a secure email to like move your secure stuff. Like keep your secure stuff in a email that promises to keep your data secure. It won't sell it to anybody. And stuff like that. I would also recommend that you try to separate your emails. Don't have all of your social media and stuff in the same email that you have all of your important stuff in. Try to separate that stuff out. But yeah, just quick, wanted to let that be known. But yeah, I just wanted to make this video and let people know my thoughts and let people be aware of what's really going on with this buyout and what's really going on with the attitudes that are happening within the Sims 4 community. And I know like with the protests and stuff like that, like you don't have to go too in depth with, you don't have to go too hard with trying to speak out, because I know not everybody can speak out the same way in the same manner that everybody that some people can. Just if you don't have to make a video, you don't have to make a long thing on social media. Just a simple statement and then actions that actually back up that statement. You know, you can't just say, "Oh, I care about the buyout and stuff like that. I don't agree," but then don't do shit about it. Like if you're gonna say it, back it up with your actions. Um, but yeah, just protest and speak out where you can, because this is a clear attempt at these people trying to spread fascism and authoritarianism, and control. So I just want to let that be known that we need to be pushing back harder. People in this community aren't angry enough. They're not angry enough. We need to be angry. We need to be doing this. We need to be speaking louder about this, and we need to hold creators accountable for their inaction and their perpetuation of the issue. So yeah, that's all I'm gonna say. I've been talking for like 2 hours ish, 2 hours 30 minutes. So I'll just start recording the other video that I have planned after this. So I hope you guys have a good rest of your day slash night slash afternoon, wherever you are in the world, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Blessed be everybody.